Hey friends, welcome back to Vigor Active Health Chats. I don't know what's going on in my life right now, but I just keep running into the most unique individuals with skills that I've just never heard of before. And I think maybe the reason is so that you can learn about it. I don't know, but I have to get them on here just so you can hear about these unique things. My guest is Sam Markelson. He's a 17, almost 18-year personal trainer. I definitely call him a fitness professional, as he's done this for so long and he's got this thing down. But we're going to be talking about just like possible mental barriers that hinder physical performance and how that also works into the individual's life. I'm excited to hear about this. He's got a lot of experience. So please help me in welcoming Sam. Sam, thanks for joining us today
Hey, I
on
appreciate
the
it.
show.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having me on your show.
of course. It's just a pleasure. So where do we start? You and I have, we're trying to prep this thing, but I think we should just roll with it and see where we go.
That's the way I feel.
You've been working with people for so long. What barriers do you see frequently? How about that? Any
So
main?
a lot of the things that I see is people's subconscious brains or things that they've injuries or traumas or people that have had trainers in the past that caused injuries, things that are causing their own self-limiting beliefs from them becoming successful, what it is that they're trying to do,
Okay.
you know, and that causes that mental barrier for them to want to actually keep going with fitness.
So do you think a lot of it lives in the psychological trauma world?
I think it might have to do with their subconscious, and the trauma is kind of put somewhere deep inside of them that they don't really think about. And then it comes up with other aspects of them not being present and being in the they're thinking about the past, they're thinking about what they need to get done in the future and not being present, which causes them to not be as successful as they could be, which is the traumas that are triggered by previous relationships, whether it's jobs, whether it's whatever the case may be. But there's certain things that cause that mental block in anything that they're doing.
Would you say that most people have these?
To some degree, yes. Probably some people have worked on it and gotten better at it. I've seen therapists, all the different aspects of where they go with life, and it just really depends on the person.
So would you say that these barriers that we're encountering, and let's talk about physical wise, let's talk about fitness wise, like actual trying to train. Do you think that that's limiting strength, cardiovascular endurance? What are there any areas that you've noticed this more with?
So what I've noticed is everybody says, I hate cardio, right? Have them do a circuit of 2 to 3 different exercises. Oh man, I feel great. This is awesome. I'm like moving and I feel that this is like the awesome thing, right? Still has a cardiovascular response on their metabolic response to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the way that their body's response is still doing cardiovascular, but their brain tells, I hate cardio because I'm bored on the elliptical or treadmill or whatever the case may be, or the Stairmaster, whatever it is, different aspects of cardio.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. It's the underlying factor of them being bored, that they're in the same place and they're not moving. But when you put them into aspect of taking that and putting them into core and stability and strength and encompassing that into their workouts, now they're having fun, they're moving around. It's kind of like playing sports. And then that kind of causes their aspect of like bringing out that kind of like inner child inside of them, is the way I feel.
Okay.
You know, because sometimes we feel like that kind of goes away.
Mm-hmm.
So because we don't feel safe, there's traumas, there's all the different psychological aspects. That physical fitness allows us to be able to have those same emotions, but in a controlled environment, that we have the same thing, feelings of fear, feelings of like, how am I going to get through this? I feel like I can't do anymore. All the things that you think about on a daily basis, financially, mentally, like all the limiting barriers of that, fitness allows you to be able to have that. It's just a different avenue of opening it from the outside in, not from the inside out. One's more mental and physical, one's more actually getting onto the psychological aspect from the inside out. What's causing those triggers? It's like, are they here or are they going somewhere?
What are you actually physically doing to help people get over these things? What are your tools that you use?
I mean, I just simply ask questions. Like, I'll ask them, like, why is it that they're feeling some type of way? What is causing this? And then that'll lead into them opening up more of like the things in the, but there has to be that trust there, right? So within building that trust, you're simply just asking simple questions. How's your food? Like, what is your food intake? What causes did you go through a divorce? Is there anything like that's going to be some mental illness or something that you've gone through, as far as like where people have ADHD and like different aspects of how they go about what it is that they're trying to do and where they're going as far as where their traumas would be, because it could be like sports psychology. I always use this one, right? So it could be like a batter or someone going up to bat and they play that one team and then they always feel like they're limited because they've gone 4 out of 5, but then that trauma is caused because they're scared that they're not going to hit that 5th ball because their dad used to yell at them for not being as good enough in Pee Wee for hitting 4 out of 5 and saying that they missed one. So that comes up in their adulthood as far as the trauma goes, and that's where they don't become as successful. So their self-limiting beliefs are caused deep-rooted that they don't even know about,
It's interesting to bring it up. I think it's a good topic, and I think maybe even this show helps people understand. Sports psychology definitely says positive punishment, right, is the way that we would term it, is yelling at or saying bad job. And how harmful, and the literature now will actually talk about how harmful and limiting that can be. And I think you're bringing this to the surface, and maybe one of the main takeaways of this talk is people to hear that and to know. Because if you give that punishment constantly, I just don't think it gets anybody anywhere. You create a barrier, right?
Yeah.
And then later on in your life, you're still carrying that barrier around, and it's, what have you seen as far as these things, not just in fitness, but limiting, I don't know, day-to-day life?
I mean, it causes their self-limiting beliefs cause all their lack of confidence, because their day-to-day life, it's like, okay, well, what I do myself is because I know that I forget a lot of things, right? So the night before, I write out what I need to get done for the day. It could be as simple as just my morning routine to what I have scheduled for that day. I don't necessarily need to go in as much detail. 5 things I want to achieve for myself, for my self-care, to make sure that I put the time in to make sure I do that. And then the 5 things at the end of the day with what it is that I do, right? So just not necessarily a checklist, say, just to say a list so I don't forget the things that I need to do, just keeping a rolling track of the things that I've accomplished throughout the day. Then by the end of the day, when I do my recap, I see that, oh man, like I've really accomplished so much, so that builds up my self-confidence in what it is that I do. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid to say no, but they're also afraid to cause themselves to be able to put themselves in a place of like, man, I don't want to be here, and just leave. But they say yes because they're like, oh man, it's my friend, I really should go. And what it is, they feel like they kind of have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that causes them to feel false guilt. And then that's a snowball effect with everything else, right? Just like anything with when, let's say you're going to work in the morning and there's traffic on 35 or there's traffic going to work, and then the only place that you can be is in the present and driving to work, right? But the snowball effect is you woke up late, you basically rushing to get out of the house, and then you miss the exit, then the whole snowball effect, getting mad at traffic, getting angry, and then you're already showing up to work, as opposed to taking the time of, I'm here and there's no other place that I can be besides the present moment. And then building on that of the things that you have that are successful with what you already have in life, right? So being in the present moment is really hard for people because there's a snowball effect of the things that are underlying that factor of that triggers that cause that whole thing of where they're at the current space, right? So people don't go backwards and say, I'm late, I'm doing this, but I can't be anywhere else. So I might as well just take the time and enjoy with where it is that I'm going with what I have, That causes their body to be in a fight or flight response, right? So if they're already in a fight or flight, their parasympathetic and their sympathetic nervous system is always going to be stressed out. So then they get to work. They're already stressed out. They didn't get a chance to like decompress before they got to work. Now they're already, the whole thing of being late, traffic and all the other things causes them to get into their fire side, as opposed to being like water and being able to flow with the thing, and then basically be like the wind and be able to go through, like just like the natural earth, wind, and fire, and like all the different things that go through the world. That's kind of the way that we have all of those things, and we want to have a balance between all of them.
So it's teaching people that the way that you get them to stay present. We understand that staying present is super important, and especially imagining what's going to happen in the future. That's ridiculous, right? Because it causes so much stress for so many people. Is that how you do it? Is that your tool?
Well, I mean, we work as fitness professionals. We work with a bunch of different people, from CEOs to business professionals to just the regular construction workers to people in law enforcement to all the vast array of different types of people in different types of industries, right? and they all come with their own sources of stress that we don't know about on our day to day, right? So how do you get that person who's highly anxious that's already coming in with that to decompress and slow down and then do that and be present, right? They don't want to think when they come in. So you do the thinking for them. So for them to decompress and slow down, that's the biggest thing of what it is. It's like, I just need you to be present and we're here. Like, you're in a good place. I'm going to guide you. Just listen to what it is that I'm saying and don't just, like you understand. Because I understand that you're kind of being present, but you're just yaying me to kind of understand. So which one is it? And then kind of like a little bit of calling them out on what it is that they're doing, but also telling them to be more present and be more alert, as opposed to showing them, hey, it's okay, you can be grounded, you're safe here.
I think fitness professionals and in this, just prescribing exercise for people is a great place to teach people how to be present. I've kind of noticed it myself in the past. There's something about it. And obviously once you start activating your body and getting blood flowing around, which is then helping the brain fire, I think you're setting up that environment for people to go, okay, I'm going to tune out all the other industries right here. There's a good education point that I thought of when you were speaking, though, that we could tell all the listeners about. There's from what sports psych has, there's two types of people. There's people that do things to achieve success. And then the other side is people that avoid failure. They separate it just like that. I'm sure everything's not just cut and dry like two, but you see those two things. People can be driven to succeed. People can be driven to avoid something negative from happening, right? That they may even be imagining. It could be something not real, which is holding them back.
I think that's a great point. It's kind of like the person who's a highly successful business and CEO versus the person who's went downhill and avoidant and the other personality and who's homeless and a drug addict. Both are driven by the same type of like personality of, I need to be successful, I need to do them things. But one has the avoidant personality, one has the way they're driven towards that success and they keep pushing towards there with what it is. But both have avoidant in them in some way, shape, or form. The avoidant personality just like, well, I'm going to just let go of all my responsibilities. I'm not going to attack what it is that I need to do. And the only way to become successful is through your fears and the things that you're taking away. So what I tell probably to your listeners is taking small successful things of what it is towards what you're trying to do. If you're afraid of a bill, maybe you just pick it up and you open it up. You don't necessarily get into it like Jordan Peterson says, but there's different things of like, you can literally take and climb Mount Everest, but you, like the saying goes, how do you build a house? Brick by brick. Little by little, you get to where you want to be just by building those habits that one by one will allow you to become more and more successful at what it is that you're trying to do, no matter what it is.
So on a more personal note, do you love what you do? I mean, is it just super rewarding being a 17-year fitness professional, helping all these people, now learning how to, I don't know when it came in, actually, it's a good question. When did learning how to help people with the mental side come into your skill set?
I mean, it's always been there, but just like anybody else, I go through those ups and downs and left and right. I've gone through. Fitness has always been the one consistent thing in my life, for me, at least for my workouts and everything else. But much like everybody else, it's kind of like that show, Fit to Fat to Fit, right? Mm-hmm. The person who's in shape as a trainer that goes to being out of shape to going back in shape and them going through all the psychological traumas that their clients go through, it's not an easy thing to deal with. Yeah. With all those demons and everything else that you went through because you were in shape and that's why you became a fitness professional to help. People don't necessarily understand how to get through the traumas and the things that people go through. I was out of shape as a young kid, so I decided, I was like, hey, the same things that people go through, I can understand because I go through it every day, man. Like there's days that I work from 5 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, straight through, and then I put myself on the back burner. So you have to make sure that you can't give yourself to people if you're not taking care of yourself. And that's the biggest thing of what I teach people is you have to make the time for yourself, making sure that you eat, making sure that you have a whole balance of what it is. Because you only know what you know. And then when you're brought into awareness, the things that you don't know because you've been doing things a certain way for so long, that's what allows you to be able to grow and become better because someone else shows you something that you didn't know, but you're always stuck in one mindset.
Well, this has been extremely beneficial. Thank you for sharing everything you know. I'd definitely like to have you back. Okay, so let's arrange that. And listeners, thanks for listening. We hope you learned something today, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks.